You are watching the New American Media.
You are listening to the Unhappy Hour Sports Radio Show on the newamericanmedia.com.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Brian Engelman, your Unhappy Hour host. Thank you very much for sticking around and joining us today. If you are not following us on Twitter, do so. We're at American_media_. We get into everything. We try to seek truth, challenge dogma, and have fun. We say, please join our mostly civil conversation. And we were having a conversation with Zak Baris, lifelong Cleveland sports fan and NBA scout. We're going to bring Zach in a minute. But first, I want to thank our sponsor for this segment. It's Three Black Cats. Really cool fake gauge tribal earrings. Really cool hidden book boxes where you can put your loose change, your car remote, your keys. You can put any sort of thing, whatever you would want to keep hidden. You put this in a book box and you put it away, or you just leave it out. They look super cool. A whole bunch of wood boxes and really cool homemade stuff from the organic herbal products, the lip balms, the hand lotions, the body butters, the skin salves. They're great. And then cool tribal hair flowers and stuff. You can get a lot of cool gifts here. Take a look at our sponsor site. It's the number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com, and Store Envy is STORENVY. Only one E there. The number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. So we were talking with Zak Baris about the Cleveland Cavaliers and Kyrie Irving and kind of the direction of where things are going, and when people tend to get frustrated whether it's Kevin Love or LeBron James and people finally say, I'm out of here. Well, what we're doing is I think we're in agreement that the Cavs are doing the right thing. Keep the payroll low, and when you're ready to make your splash, make your splash. Now is not the time. Now is not the time to do that. But now is the time to bring Zach back into the program. So we will reach out to Zach right about now and continue our chat. Because we still haven't gotten to Dwight Howard yet.
Hello?
Hey, Zach, you're live on the air again. No sweat. Drop the call. I'm guessing that may have been a cell phone-related issue, perhaps.
Must have been. I have no clue. I thought I had good cell reception where I was.
Well, whatever the case, we were talking about Cavs, and I think I was just saying you and I are in agreement that we think the Cavs are doing the right thing. You got to build smart, you got to build slow, you got to remain flexible, and when you want to make your splash, and sign Kyrie to a long-term contract while you're at it. So moving forward about long-term contracts and making a splash, Dwight Howard. It was instantly an issue that perked your ears up. It got you fired up because you've been thinking about it. You've been fascinated with it. I guess let's kind of address it. Give us the update where we're at today, and then tell us what fell apart with the Nets.
Okay, well, the Nets' problem was, the Nets have had problems dealing with the Orlando Magic. It was, what were the Magic going to take back in return? Obviously, you're not going to get any for compensation for Dwight Howard. It's just how it is. The talks broke down with the Nets after, this has been going on forever. Dwight Howard put himself in this situation by opting in. He would have been a net last year had he not opted into this deal. So Howard essentially screwed himself over. I think that's how you have to look at it. But, I don't know, like I said, if he will be a net, it won't be until January 15th, until Brook Lopez is able to be traded. And I can't see Howard playing another game in a Magic uniform.
And let me,
I honestly think he'll wind up either a Los Angeles Laker or a Houston Rocket by the time the season starts. It could be in a couple of days. It could be in a couple of weeks. But like I said, if the Lakers get it, it's going to be facilitated with a 3-team trade where Bynum will somehow wind up in Houston. And then, Orlando will wind up with picks and, a couple of the Rockets, young players. Okay. And then, and that's how it would go. But I have no clue. Everything at this point is just, there's a new rumor every day, and like you said, the Cavs backed out, the Bobcats backed out of the deal, and it just became a complicated situation to make all the contracts work and everything, and, to make everything work out. Now I'm looking at, you look at the Nets now, the Nets still look better than a 42-win team to me, They're looking maybe like, I don't think they're going to be better than the 6th seed in the East at best. Maybe a 5th seed, but, they're not that great. Orlando has no talent besides Dwight Howard. I don't even know how many games they can win this year without him. I don't even see them winning 10 games. That team is terrible. They look way worse than the Cavaliers from 2 years ago, and that's saying something.
Okay, let me jump in there. I have two questions. The most important question I have is regarding how Dwight has handled this, because it's not just that he opted in, because I do want to expand upon that and kind of re-highlight that phase of this process. But it's also, if you go public and say, I only want to play for the Nets, you have lost the ability to negotiate with all of the other teams, and you have lost the ability to actually put yourself into New Jersey to play for the Nets. But let me ask you this before we get into that. Who do you think are going to be the top 2 picks in next year's NBA draft if you had to call it 1 year in advance? If you said Orlando's going to be that bad, who might they be looking at in next year's draft?
I like Shabazz Muhammad, the small forward. He's heading to UCLA. He was at Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas. I had a chance to see him play a few times last year and in years previous. I love Shabazz Muhammad. Obviously, he's not going to light it up at UCLA because Ben Howland's system doesn't allow his players to do that. But, if he would have went to a school like Kentucky, he'd be the surefire number 1 pick. I still see him being number 1 next year, or number 2. And then Nerlens Noel, the center who's going to Kentucky next year, I see him being a top 3 pick, maybe even top 2. He's not as polished as Anthony Davis. But, like I said, next year's draft is not anywhere near the talent level of this year's draft. I can say that like with ease.
Well,
but I really do. I'm a big Shabazz Muhammad fan. I think he can be a superstar in the NBA, but that doesn't guarantee Orlando's going to get him. The Bobcats didn't land Anthony Davis. I mean, Orlando could wind up picking as low as 4 next year. If they have the worst record in the league. And don't forget, Charlotte's going to be pretty bad too.
Yeah, it's astonishing when you think about all the bad teams. There's always another really bad team sitting there. I think that about the Browns all the time. Always drafted in the top 5, and you look around, it's like, how are we not the number 1 pick? Oh, they had an even worse year than we did. That's incredible to think about when you watch such a lousy product so consistently. But let me bounce back to Dwight Howard now. Can you recap for me what his beef was when he said that he was blackmailed into signing this extension for this year, because it plays into his negotiating tactic of saying, I'm only playing for the Nets, when it wasn't up to him to say that. And I thought that really shot himself in the foot. So talk about the extension. And then
he's claiming now that those words were taken out of context and that he didn't say it like that.
All right.
I think, honestly, I think he's gotten some terrible advice. I believe his cousin or someone is his manager, And that's the thing is you're not supposed to surround yourself with friends and family in a business world. You're supposed to base everything off of who's the best at their job. Not that's why I always have a policy where I prefer not to hire friends and family if I ever had a job like that. Because it puts you in a bad position because you don't know who to listen to at that point. And you have to put yourself around the best business people possible. And he's made LeBron's situation, his free agency, the way LeBron handled his free agent situation. You give LeBron an A+ for the way he handled it compared to Dwight Howard. That's how bad it's been for him.
I don't think it's that starkly different, but
it's
been
been
bad.
If you look at the way LeBron handles, LeBron chose not to talk about it. He didn't demand a trade, and he went and interviewed teams. LeBron handled it as poorly as possible at the time I thought he could have. And he made a big spectacle about it in the decision. But like I said, this Dwight Howard situation is where she's demanding a trade to only one team. And then you can't guarantee, if I'm traded to the Bulls, the Lakers, or, the Hawks, like I said, I'm not signing that extension. When I see the final product when we see the final issue with Dwight Howard, my guess is that he's going to sign with whoever he's traded to, because I just can't see him turning down $40 million, over that one, that extra year. And I see that happening. And also because he's going to lose nobody, who wants to sign an endorsement deal with Dwight Howard right now. He's the least marketable player in the NBA with the way he's acted. He's acted like a child over the past year now. And it's an embarrassing situation for not only for him, but for Orlando, the fans of Orlando, the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, this has been an issue that we have not stopped talking about since December of last year. I mean, this has been going on for 8 months now, this saga, and everything about it. It's just obnoxious listening to this. I see it on Twitter every day. We have to talk about it at work. It's just like, let's get this over with already. Trade him. Do something. I just don't want to hear him talk anymore. It's just frustrating.
It's a Band-Aid approach of you need to rip it off, not hair by excruciating hair. I want to talk about Dan Gilbert here. Because you're right. This has been dragging out for a long time, and if they don't work something out, this could be going on for another year. Who knows if that will be the case or not? But I want to talk about Dan Gilbert's role in this because obviously the Cavs were mentioned as one of the other teams. They were the other team, and then the Bobcats jumped in, and then you heard criticism, and it was one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, where Gilbert's only doing this to put a super team in New Jersey so that LeBron can lose.
It had nothing to do with that. He was doing it to improve his own team because if you can get Chris Humphries an extra picks out of it, you do whatever you can to make your team better. But at the same time, you don't want to make another team better than a team that you won't be able to beat for the next 4 to 5 years.
And
that's the problem with it.
Flip side of it.
I think the Cavaliers looked at it that way. It has nothing to do with him going out there and trying to make a super team in another city so he'll be able to beat LeBron James. That is a complete joke. Anybody who believes that is nuts. I'm sorry. It's just that's not his thinking.
And that was the criticism he was getting on both sides because then they said, oh, well, he only didn't do it because he didn't want to create a super team out there and he's in a small market. And it's like, well, what? You're going to criticize the guy either way. I don't know. I don't fault him for going after decisions that can help improve the team. But Chris Humphries didn't want to re-sign a deal over here, and it just didn't make sense at the end of the day. Right?
He was going to. And the Cavaliers didn't want to sign him for more than a year.
They didn't. The Cavs didn't want Chris Humphries.
Yeah, the Cavs didn't. Chris Humphries wanted a guaranteed 3 years, and the Cavaliers said absolutely no way.
And so was that the reason why the deal was nixed? Was that essentially what it came down to?
It was one of the reasons why the deal was nixed. It was one of the reasons. I mean, there's so many complications that go into this that we don't know about, that the public doesn't know about. There's so many things, even from other teams, I can tell you right now, from other teams that they will not talk about. Like Chris Grant's not going to go up and call Gar Forman, the general manager of the Bulls, and go, oh, you know what, we wanted this, they wanted that, this is exactly what happened. He's not calling up 29 other GMs in the league or 28 other GMs and going, this is what happened, this is why the deal broke up. You just have to assume what happened, every team will have their sources and people do leak information. But we honestly don't know the truth of what happened at the end, why the Cavaliers backed out and why the Bobcats backed out. But, it would have created a super team in New Jersey, and I can tell you, or in Brooklyn, I'm sorry. And it would have been Brooklyn and Miami for the next 4 to 5 years, depending if LeBron stayed and Dwayne Wade's still in good health. It would have been Brooklyn versus Miami the next couple of years, in the Eastern Conference.
Because Gilbert took a lot of heat for nixing the being very vocal to help destroy that Chris Paul to the Lakers trade.
Well, it had nothing to do. Okay, here's what the Chris Paul trade had to do with it. The Chris Paul trade, Dan Gilbert was upset because how is it fair that the Hornets, who are owned by the league, are suddenly taking on more salary and becoming a worse team? That was the big issue there, is that they were taking on way more salary. They would have been in the luxury tax. And they were giving up a superstar player in the process. So, how is that fair that Dan Gilbert's going to have to shell out a few more $1 million a year for, to make the Lakers a better team? I don't blame him for being upset. Don't forget, 24 owners nixed that trade. It wasn't just Dan Gilbert. Gilbert happened to write a letter, but 24 owners rejected that trade, just to let you know.
Did he write the letter in that funny font that he used on the night of
Comic Sans? I assume
Comic
so.
Sans, yeah.
I mean, that's his font. He even makes fun of himself for it. He holds all of his Quicken Loans conferences in Comic Sans too.
Nice. No, I get your point. I mean, why would you sit by and watch the NBA create a super team in a huge market by destroying the team that they own against its better interest? It doesn't make sense, and it wasn't just Dan Gilbert doing that. But I mean, these LeBron bandwagon fans, I mean, they'll attack Cleveland, they'll attack Dan Gilbert, they'll attack myself. They're just living it up. Everything is
go ahead and
right
let
now.
them. These fans are nothing but leeches. I have to say, front runners are the worst type of fans there are.
I can't
I can't
disagree with
stand
that.
front runners more than anything. Suddenly, we used to have kids at college. Today I'm a Steeler fan. I go, how are you a Steeler fan? You were a Chicago Bears fan last year. And I would look at this and I just start laughing at him, and I was like, I was like, nothing about the sport. You just go and you just want a team that wins. That's all. It's not fun doing that. Half the Miami Heat fans used to be Cavs fans 3 years ago.
Okay,
that's the thing.
They're just
people
LeBron
fans.
fans.
People rode LeBron's coattails to Miami, and they're going to do it wherever he goes next. I can guarantee you, if he somehow does come back to the Cavs in 2 years, most of those fans are going to be wearing LeBron Cavalier jersey and Kyrie Irving jersey. I watch it; it's going to happen.
Well, I'll tell you what.
If he does leave, when he leaves the Heat.
You're ripping on the fair weather fans, and I'm there with you. But I got to tell you, you said that, kind of alluding to that's not fun or something like that, but it hasn't been fun being a Cleveland sports fan. I mean, I was born with this disease.
Basketball is not an individual sport. It is a team sport. You root for a team, not the individual. This isn't golf. It's great. If you're a Tiger Woods fan or a NASCAR fan or a Jeff Gordon, whoever, it's great to root for a driver or a golfer.
Serena Williams,
great.
tennis player.
You have that ability. The NBA is a team sport for a reason. It's and like baseball is a team sport too. And that's the thing is, if you're an Albert Pujols fan, were you suddenly a Cardinals fan and now you're an Angels fan all of a sudden? I don't like that. You follow the team for a reason. You want that team to win, not just the individual. Like I said, this is all a team sport. It's not based on one individual's play. And that's what upsets me so much with front runners. Because suddenly they're going out there, they're changing their allegiances from their team. There's no loyalty in that. And that's what bothers me so much. I can't even have a conversation with a typical front runner because I get too frustrated talking to them about it. I snap, and I can't deal with it. I have a very short temper sometimes, when it comes to people talking about sports. And when you happen to be more knowledgeable than someone at a certain sport, you get angry with them. It happens, and it happens to me all the time. I don't like when people call me up. I don't like when people start to, in basketball games, I go, if you want my opinion, I'll give it to you. I don't want a rebuttal. I don't want to even discuss this issue. Because I don't like talking about it. I tell people that all the time.
See, we do the opposite when we.
I'm in a position where I don't like getting in arguments with people about it because people are sometimes just out there to pick a fight, and that's usually what happens.
Absolutely.
The majority of the people I get in verbal arguments with are front-running fans.
We've encountered that on the New American Media on the YouTube page at youtube.com/the New American Media. If you're listening to this after the fact, please click subscribe. But yeah, I mean, we found a lot of trolls, as they like to call them, or people just looking to fight with people and call each other names and try to berate and belittle. And, but we've also had some really good conversation. There have been several people who are checking out these NBA shows that we're doing and consistently leaving their commentary. It's like they're listening to the episodes, and as we make a point, they jot something down, hit send, and then when we make another point. So, we like the conversation continuing, but all these arguments and saying, Cleveland's never going to amount to bleep, and, yeah, screw Cleveland, and the Cavs are stupid, and Dan Gilbert's in it, it's like, I don't need that conversation.
People are just doing it to get a rise. I mean, if they honestly believe that, so be it. You can believe it. But, anybody who's sitting there and posting on a message board, and this is what I'm saying, just to upset people has no life. I can tell you that right now. I've dealt with these people before. They're literally just trying to get a rise out of people and trying to upset people. And that's what drives me nuts so much about it is when these guys are just going, they're literally just trying to get a rise out of you, me, or whoever. I'm sitting here defending my defending my honest opinion on the radio. I'm willing to do that. I'm not, and there are times that, I've commented on the boards before when people ask me questions. But most of the time, I cannot stand dealing with some of it. I can't deal with trolls. They, like I said, they're just purposely doing it to upset people and to annoy them. They love getting a rise out of people.
I agree with that, and I'll tell you what, we will make a hard pivot here, and we'll talk about a few of these other issues. Blake Griffin getting hurt, Team USA, and how that was a pretty close game yesterday against the Dominican Republic, I guess. We'll talk about Jeremy Lin, what's going on with him. We'll talk about the Heat getting Ray Allen and Rashard Lewis. Is that going to help them? How much will it help them if it does? And who will win 92 versus 2012, the Dream Team? I want to thank our sponsor for this portion of the show. It is Three Black Cats Studio. You can go ahead and take a look at them. They have tribal belly dance accessories, homemade herbal products. So, guys, if you never know what to get your girlfriend or your wife or your niece, go on here, take a look at these really cool fake gauge hoop earrings. Just get a few cool things, throw them in a box. Next time you forget about a birthday or an anniversary or a graduation gift, pull it out of the box. My dad taught me that, and it's helped me ever since. They have really cool products, homemade, organic, herbal lotions and chapstick, lip balm, all of these things. And then they have really cool hidden book boxes and tribal hair flowers and stuff. So take a look at our sponsor. If you want to help the New American Media continue what we're doing, please go buy some stuff from our sponsor. You can find them at the number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com. Store Envy has one E, so that's the number 3blackcats.storeenvy.com, our sponsor for this segment. Zach and I are going to be back. We're going to talk a little bit more about all things basketball, as we tend to do here on thenewamericanmedia.com's Agree to disagree. I knew I was going to do that. It's the unhappy hour. I just got to agree to disagree on the mind. We'll be right back.
You were listening to The Unhappy Hour Sports Radio Show on the newamericanmedia.com.
You are watching The New American Media.